There are moments when a camera is rolling in exactly the right place at the right time, capturing something nobody was prepared to see. Whether it's security footage, live streams, or casual recordings, these images start as ordinary everyday scenes, until suddenly, in seconds, everything changes. The unexpected happens, the improbable becomes real, and what seemed routine transforms into something shocking and unexplainable. And that's exactly what you're about to see right here today. So hit that like button, click subscribe down below, and let's get into it. The case of Sasha Samsudin is considered one of the most disturbing crimes ever recorded in Orlando. In the early morning hours of October 17, 2015, Sasha, who was 27 years old, returned to her apartment after spending the night with friends. Everything seemed normal until the following hours when she stopped responding to messages and calls, which caused serious concern among people close to her. Because of this concerning silence, police were called to check on the situation, and when they entered the apartment, they discovered a brutal scene. Sasha was found lifeless in her own bed, a victim of murder. Security camera footage revealed that Stephen Duxbury, a security guard at the condominium where Sasha lived, had contact with the victim shortly before the crime occurred. The security camera images from the beginning of the building's stairway clearly show Sasha arriving, climbing the stairs, and moments later, the security guard doing the same, visibly following behind her. Additional evidence, including DNA and fingerprints, strengthened his direct connection to the murder. According to the investigation, he followed Sasha and subsequently entered her apartment, where he committed the crime. The identity of the aggressor, someone specifically tasked with protecting the residents, made everything even more shocking and disturbing. Following the trial, Stephen Duxbury was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. A video recorded in May of 2015 captured an extremely distressing scene in the Mediterranean Sea, amid the migration crisis that was hitting the route between Libya and Sicily. In the footage, a group of immigrants appears in absolute desperation when they realize the inflatable boat they were on was beginning to deflate in the open ocean, putting everyone in imminent danger of death. Facing this critical situation, a cargo ship passing through the area started an improvised rescue attempt, throwing life jackets into the water. What followed was a chaotic moment, with several people who threw themselves into the sea all at once, desperately trying to reach the life jackets before the boat sank completely. The scene exposes the extreme level of desperation experienced by those who risk the crossing, many without knowing how to swim, others already exhausted, all fighting for a chance to survive. Situations like this were frequent during that period, since many of these boats were extremely precarious and frequently began losing air just hours after departure, causing panic and people falling into the sea. Someone visited a cemetery in the dead of night where the deceased rapper known as XXXTentacion was buried, and when they went to his tomb, which had a chapel protecting it, something mysterious happened. The footage captured by this person shows them approaching the chapel that sat beside the rapper's massive grave. As they got closer to the chapel's entrance, they quickly noticed something strange appearing on the other side of the glass door. There was what looked like a face pressed right up against the glass of the door, visible through a crack, as if it was looking and watching the place. Obviously, nobody should have been there, and that's exactly why this video ended up going viral and generating massive attention, with all sorts of theories being raised. Many people started saying it was the rapper's own spirit trapped there protecting his tomb. Others claimed it was some other kind of supernatural event, and there are also those who don't believe any of it, dismissing it as nothing more than an optical illusion. In 2024, a video that quickly went viral on social media caught the attention of thousands of people by showing a supposed unidentified flying object in the sky over Contagion in the metropolitan region of Belo Horizonte. The footage was filmed by a dental student who reported spotting the phenomenon while leaving college with friends around nighttime. In the images, you can clearly see an object that appears to be hovering motionless in the sky, emitting colorful lights, mainly in shades of blue and red, that were flashing in synchronized patterns, which only added to the mystery surrounding what was being witnessed. The object's complete silence and its static position were also factors that intrigued everyone who saw the scene. The video spread incredibly fast, generating numerous theories among internet users. While some believed it was something unusual, possibly of extraterrestrial origin, others came up with more plausible explanations, such as drones, equipment with LED lights, or even a kite adapted with special lighting. Despite all the attention and the visual impact of the recording, there was no official confirmation about what the object actually was. Back in 2016, a security camera video captured an incredible moment inside a convenience store on the outskirts of Denver in the United States. In the footage, store attendant Rebecca Montano was having a normal conversation with a customer while trying to make her baby smile, just an ordinary, peaceful scene. But in just a few seconds, everything changed. Montano noticed something was wrong when the customer's face went completely blank and she stopped responding. Trusting her instincts, Montano acted without hesitation. She quickly rushed around the counter and grabbed the baby right out of the woman's arms. Seconds later, the customer started to stumble and collapsed onto the floor, experiencing a severe seizure. Because of how fast the attendant reacted, that little baby was saved from falling with the mother, which could have caused serious injuries. After grabbing the baby, Montano handed him to someone else in the store and immediately called emergency services, staying beside the woman to make sure she kept breathing until the paramedics arrived. The video went viral specifically because of how precise and quick that reaction was. It was just a few seconds between realizing something was wrong and taking action. Later, the mother came back to the store to say thank you, and both she and her baby ended up doing just fine. A video showing a supposed pterodactyl sighting, a flying dinosaur extinct for thousands of years, tends to generate massive attention precisely because it taps into popular imagination. In this video, you see what's claimed to be a creature flying, and the resemblance to a pterodactyl silhouette definitely catches your eye. And that's enough to get people feeding theories all over the internet about whether these creatures could still exist. That theory gained even more momentum from another story, where a group of men supposedly captured the same species back in the early 1800s in Arizona, United States. A photo emerged showing these men standing around the dinosaur, and it started circulating everywhere, creating even more theories that together ended up gaining serious traction online. Pterodactyls, which are actually part of the pterosaur group, were flying reptiles that lived millions of years ago and disappeared along with the dinosaurs during the massive extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period. Since then, there's no concrete evidence whatsoever, no recent fossil record, or reliable observation that suggests these creatures still exist today. According to experts, the flying animal supposedly being a pterodactyl can actually be explained by several much more plausible factors. In many cases, it's simply large birds seen from a distance like pelicans or herons, which depending on the angle and image quality can look like something truly unusual. Beyond that, it's also incredibly common to see drones or remotely controlled objects with unusual shapes, plus digital editing that inserts figures into the sky in pretty convincing ways. The low resolution, excessive zoom, and shaky footage all contribute even more to creating that illusion. Now, the story about a supposed pterodactyl capture in Arizona in the early 1800s, accompanied by a photo with men standing around the animal, is a classic example of urban legend widely spread across the internet. That image has been circulating for many years and has been analyzed countless times, and it's been determined to be fake without any historical verification whatsoever. Security camera footage released after the incident really drove home the scale of one of the most audacious heists in recent history, the theft from the Louvre Museum on October 19, 2025. That morning, the museum was already open to the public when a group of thieves, disguised as maintenance workers, executed a quick and extremely well-planned operation. In just a few minutes, they managed to access the area where historic pieces from the French crown were displayed, using equipment like an electric lift platform to reach a window in the Apollo Gallery, even exploiting areas that were under construction. The security recordings show the exact moment when the criminals enter, smash the display cases, and collect the jewels with precision, staying inside the museum for only a few minutes before escaping. The entire operation took less than 10 minutes, with the actual time spent in the gallery being even shorter, which really shows the level of planning and prior knowledge they had of the museum's structure. Among the items stolen were numerous historic pieces of incalculable value, including jewels connected to French monarchy, some associated with figures like Napoleon and empresses from the 1800s. The case shocked people not just because of its boldness, but also because of the security failures that were exposed. Later investigations revealed vulnerabilities in the museum's security system, including incomplete monitoring and poorly protected structures in specific areas, which ended up making it easier for the criminals to pull off their operation. Even with the quick identification and arrest of some suspects just days after, many of the stolen pieces remained missing, making the mystery surrounding the case even deeper. What should have been just another routine rescue operation turned into an absolutely gripping and harrowing scene that quickly went viral across the internet. The incident happened in Phoenix, in the United States, when a 74-year-old woman needed to be rescued after injuring herself during a hike in a mountainous area. Because of how difficult it was to reach the location, the rescue teams decided to use a helicopter, which is a standard procedure in hard-to-reach places. The operation was going normally, with the victim secured in a special stretcher, known as a rescue basket, attached to a cable that would hoist her up to the aircraft. However, during the ascent, something completely unexpected occurred. As the stretcher approached the helicopter, it started to spin slowly, and then within seconds the movement transformed into extremely fast and uncontrolled rotations, creating a scene of tremendous tension for everyone watching. The intense spinning lasted about 40 seconds, while the team struggled to stabilize the situation. This type of occurrence, despite being rare, actually has a technical explanation. The primary factor is the powerful air current generated by the helicopter's rotor blades. When the stretcher enters this turbulent area, it can start spinning, especially if there's a problem with what's called the tagline, an auxiliary rope specifically designed to prevent exactly this type of rotation. In this particular case, that line failed, which allowed the spinning to intensify very quickly. Even though the situation seemed totally out of control, the team maintained the procedure and managed to successfully complete the rescue. The woman was taken for medical treatment, and despite the enormous shock, which certainly caused dizziness and disorientation, she didn't suffer any serious consequences from the incident. A reporter was out doing a story during an extremely powerful storm when the sheer force of the wind caught her completely off guard. During severe storms like this one, wind gusts can be so incredibly strong they literally rip clothes right off people or send them tumbling across the ground. But despite knowing all this danger, the reporter decided to film her report directly in a riverbed where the winds were even more intense and ferocious. When she tried to show viewers just how powerful and dangerous the wind really was, the raw force of it shocked her completely. She could barely even keep her eyes open from the intense wind pressure.
This is so painful, and it's also very dangerous for drivers.
She had to brace herself firmly so she wouldn't get dragged away, and her clothing was nearly ripped right off her body. But everything was fine once she got back behind the broadcast vehicle, which blocked and reduced the intensity of that powerful wind. During a public appearance at a polo match at the Guards Polo Club, Queen Elizabeth II caught everyone's attention when she showed up with one of her eyes strikingly red, something unusual that quickly became a major talking point in the media and across social networks. The images captured during the final clearly showed the monarch's left eye with quite obvious redness, which sparked curiosity and concern among the public. What really fueled the speculation was precisely the silence from Buckingham Palace. At the time, spokespeople simply stated that nothing unusual had occurred, and that the Queen was in good health and fine condition, without providing any details about what caused the redness. This lack of explanation opened the door to all sorts of theories on the internet, ranging from medical hypotheses to far more exaggerated and conspiracy-driven claims, even suggesting that the monarch wasn't from this planet and belonged to a reptilian race secretly controlling our world. Believe it or not, this type of theory actually becomes common whenever public figures appear with visible physical changes without an immediate explanation. Despite the temporary mystery, situations like this typically have quite straightforward and common medical explanations. One of the most probable causes is something called subconjunctival hemorrhage, which occurs when a tiny blood vessel in the eye ruptures, creating that intensely red appearance. This type of condition is generally harmless, causes no pain, and disappears naturally after a few days. In fact, it's been reported that the Queen herself experienced similar episodes at other moments in her life. In March of 2023, a case involving the kidnapping of 4 American citizens in Mexico gained worldwide attention, not just for the violence, but for an unusual detail. A letter of apologies allegedly left by members of a Mexican cartel had been discovered. The episode took place in the city of Matamoros, in the state of Tamaulipas, a region already known for the operations of criminal organizations. The victims had crossed the border from the United States into Mexico, but they ended up being intercepted by armed men and forcibly taken away in an attack that also resulted in the death of a Mexican citizen struck by a stray bullet. Days later, authorities located the Americans, and 2 of them were already dead, while the other 2 were found alive, 1 of them injured. The case generated intense international pressure and mobilized security forces from both countries. However, what really grabbed attention came right after, because there were also 5 men who were found tied up and abandoned at the kidnapping site. They were accompanied by a letter attributed to a faction of the Gulf Cartel. In the text, the group apologized to the victims, to their families, and to the local population, claiming that those responsible had acted on their own, without authorization, and violated the cartel's rules, which supposedly prohibited attacks on innocent people. The letter also stated that those involved demonstrated a lack of discipline, and because of that, were being handed over as a way to take responsibility for what had happened. This type of behavior, while shocking, reflects an internal logic of some criminal organizations that try to maintain certain control over their operations and avoid negative repercussions that could attract greater law enforcement crackdowns. The case received enormous attention not just for the kidnapping and the deaths of the Americans, but also for the unusual gesture of a cartel publicly acknowledging an error and attempting to distance itself from the crime. Back in 2020, a truly bizarre museum break-in case went absolutely viral worldwide because of how incredibly unusual the whole situation was. Security cameras at the Australian Museum, located in downtown Sydney, captured footage of a man sneaking into the building during the early morning hours and casually strolling through the exhibits as if he was just taking a regular tour, except for one crucial detail: the museum was completely closed. The footage shows the intruder entered around 1 o'clock in the morning and stayed inside for approximately 40 minutes. During that entire time, he didn't show any aggressive behavior or typical vandalism. Quite the opposite, actually. The man was seen peacefully exploring the galleries, taking photos and even posing next to historical artifacts, including a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton, where he actually stuck his head inside the dinosaur's mouth to take what you could call a selfie. Another detail that grabbed even more attention was the fact that he supposedly grabbed a hat that belonged to a museum employee and walked out wearing the accessory, like he was just finishing up a casual visit. Despite the break-in, there were no reports of major damage to any of the pieces, which made the whole case even more intriguing. The New South Wales police released the footage trying to identify the person responsible, and shortly after, a man voluntarily showed up to authorities and ended up being charged with breaking and entering. The episode got compared by many to a scene from the movie Night at the Museum because of how almost surreal the entire thing unfolded. Don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos just like this one.